Hello friends! For this next project, we're going to be making a peace sign. So for my peace sign, I did mine on a paper plate. But if you don't have a paper plate at home, you can even just cut out a circle in white paper and cut it out. Or you can just draw your peace sign on a piece of paper. But if you have a plate, you could use a plate for this, okay? So make sure you looked at the slides first about Martin Luther King Jr. And then make sure you listen to the read aloud story called The Peace Book by Todd Parr. I put up a read aloud, and the author, Todd Parr, he is reading it in that story. So he is the one who wrote the book, okay? All right, so for my peace sign art, I used oil pastel and paint. But if you don't have these art materials, you can use whatever you have. So if you have crayons, you can use crayons to color it. Or you could do crayons in watercolor. You can do markers, okay? You could do acrylic paint if you don't have watercolor paint. And then I use a trick to get the lines in my peace sign. I use tape. You don't have to do this. You can even draw, so where I left it white, you can draw those lines in for the peace sign. But if you want to do the tape trick, I will show you that. Okay, so I have some of this blue tape here. The tape's a little thicker than the tape I use on my other one, but that's okay. It doesn't matter what kind of tape you have. You're just gonna take one piece of tape to start and just put it right in the middle of your plate. Just like this. Okay, and then we just need two more pieces. Smaller pieces, all right? So one. We're gonna put it right here to make that peace sign. And then two. All right, so then we have our peace sign. If you are drawing your peace sign, I will also show you how you can draw it. So let me get a piece of paper. Okay, so for the peace sign drawing, what you'll do is you could start with a circle. So if you don't have a plate, if you want to trace your circle from something, like I might even use this tape here. You could trace your circle. A line in the middle, so just like how we put the tape in the middle. And then two lines on the side. 1, 2. So that's how you make a peace sign. So let's go back to our plate here. So we have all of our tape on there. And we're gonna get out our art supplies. So for mine, I'll use oil pastel and paint. But you could use crayon, markers, colored pencil, anything, any kind of art materials will work. Okay. So I'm gonna take my oil pastels now, and I'm going to add some different shapes and patterns. So for this section, I wanna do purple lines. And then maybe I'll do red lines going the other way. Okay, so then for my next section, let me do a few more lines. Let me think of another shape or design I could do. I will add pink polka dots. Pink polka dots with a few, let's see, green dots next to them. Okay, so now I have these two little sections here. Let's see what colors I didn't use yet. I didn't use orange yet. So I'm going to do orange stripes. And then here, I didn't use blue yet. I will do blue. And I'm just gonna kind of outline my triangle shape. Make these kind of triangle designs. All right, so I filled it all up with my oil pastels. Now I'm going to go in with my watercolor paints. So here's my watercolor paint, and then I have a water bucket and a brush and a paper towel right next to me. That way when I change colors, I can clean my brush and just dab it a little bit on my paper towel. Okay, so now I'm going to paint my plate. So for the watercolor, I'm just going to get a little bit of paint on my brush. I'm going to start with this teal color. I'm just going to paint this section. And notice how the oil pastels are still showing. It's because the oil pastels, even crayons do this too, they work as a watercolor resist. So what that means is the watercolor paint just bounces right off because it resists. They don't cover it. It just bounces right off of it, okay? Because of the waxiness in the oil pastel and crayon, it'll show up really nice and you can just paint right over it. And it's the same technique we did with the snowflake project that we just had, right? So if anyone used watercolor paint and crayon for that, did you all notice how the watercolor paint did not cover the crayon? It just bounced right off of it. So that's another example of watercolor resist. So now I'm going in with this magenta color. You can even use more than one color for a section. So maybe this one I'll do magenta with a little bit of purple. All right, and then my last two sections, I will do this one, this kind of yellowy orange. And then my last section, I will do red. So if you did the tape technique, this is my favorite part. We're gonna peel the tape off. So once it's all painted, so I didn't do that neat of a job, but when you do yours, you'll make yours nice and neat. I just didn't want my video to be too long. So you can see how in this one, I painted all the sides of my plate and everything, okay? So now, what you can even do, if your paint's looking really wet, you can kind of dab it a little bit with your paper towel, help dry it. Okay, time for my favorite part. We're going to peel the tape off. And then we have our peace sign. All right, and notice here I use thinner tape. So thin tape or thick tape, it'll work. It'll look really nice and it'll make your peace sign. All right, so when you're all done, make sure you upload a photo of your work on Google Classroom. So if you don't have a plate, don't worry, you can do the same thing with paper, okay? And if you don't have the same art supplies as me, that's okay. As long as you're making a peace sign for your art project and you're uploading a picture of a peace sign and you're using different shapes, different patterns, then you are all set. So here's my finished peace sign. All right, bye everyone.